What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Enoch. Y'all know I got my brother James with me.
Yo,
This is the Blood Brothers Podcast. Let's go. Welcome back to the Blood Brothers Podcast, everybody. Y'all know how we like to do it. Before we get going, let's talk to the Lord. Let's bow our heads. Our Father in heaven, thank you for this day. Thank you for this moment. Use us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
hey to the men.
Talk to the people, man.
Our mission statement always remains the same:
Get
empowering
right
men
to
to
the point.
become leaders in society under God's laws.
Sir.
Consequently, men, women, and children will understand the foundations of a real man. Shouts out to God.
Under God's law. We always talking about God's law, man.
hmm
So how do we really like just break it down and simplify it to people so that they can understand like what is these laws? What do you mean by laws? Is it like governmental laws? Like if I run the red light, I hear y'all saying it a lot, but make it practical for me. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times we fall forward, we fall backwards, we fall in different situations. So let's talk about how in situations where we mess up, how we can pick up and keep going.
I like that. I like that a lot. I think we have to consider before we even get into how to fall. I think a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times people violate laws and they actually don't know.
Mm.
So it's really the ignorance of a person that usually is the deciding factor or the motivating factor of them
Mm.
violating. They might not mean to do it.
Exactly.
And that is I'm not using it as an excuse,
Yeah.
but I feel like after a certain age, it's up to you to understand what are moral laws, governmental
Mm-hmm.
laws, and how to conduct yourself.
Kind of like that saying, when you know better, you do better.
Yes, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And
For an
even
example, like
uh
something simple as you parked on the street, but you didn't see the sign that said you're not supposed to park there. So
bingo.
now it's like, yeah, I didn't mean to, but I'm already here and I got the ticket.
Yeah.
Now I gotta go fight it. Like I didn't know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think even with that, you must consider like what is the mental or the mentality of a person who does violate the law, right?
Mm-hmm.
If is it a thing where you go to court and I didn't see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Is that a reasonable excuse?
Hmm.
I just feel like there's no excuse for ignorance. It's
Mm.
really you're obligated to learn how to conduct yourself in this world.
So basically saying you
And
should seek it.
exactly. And
Okay.
we try our best. It's not even that we don't try our best, but we're not trying to impose church philosophy on people.
Yeah,
We're
exactly.
trying to impose moral obligations as mankind has it, right? So if God created mankind, he set laws in place to help us operate through time and space.
Yo, it's
And
funny that you said that.
yeah.
Real quick, literally, while me and my wife was driving,
hmm
she was sitting, she was quiet, she was thinking, she was like, how come people that we know
uh
that are so-called like Christians or believers,
Yeah.
we see that they're not flourishing and having kind of like the same success that we're doing, and we supposedly believe the same thing. And I
hmm
told her, to what you just said, I was like, a lot of people think that the church mindset
hmm
is it,
Yeah.
and they don't move past that.
hmm
And a lot of times they say things, but they don't believe it or live it. And
Mm.
I'm like, that's the difference, is because, yeah, we may say the same things as people that so-called go to church, but we
Yeah.
actually believe it and live it and seek it out. And
hmm
that's the difference. You can say it, but if you're not living it, like faith without works is dead,
Yeah.
you can say whatever you want. But if
Yeah.
you're not doing the actions and putting the work towards what you're saying, what you want in your life, then you won't be fruitful.
That's so true. And even to complement that, you have to consider a lot of times people are confused, and I'm realizing this more as I get older and I have more conversations with different people.
Hmm.
People confuse the church with God,
Yeah, exactly,
right?
exactly.
And in that slight misconception
Hmm.
will deter your purpose,
Hmm.
because a lot of times you have to remember church operates on customs and
Yeah,
tradition.
yeah, exactly.
It's
Traditions.
totally like the church traditions, and let me just be clear, like the church
Hmm.
itself is not really it's not supposed to, it wasn't created as a building. It was
Yeah.
created for believers of Christ,
Hmm.
right? But to even get to the root of it, the church isn't a religious word.
Yeah.
It's a governmental terminology
Hmm.
that was established through the Romans and actually through
Yeah.
the Greeks. So
Yeah.
the church is just the followers of the person who's in charge. It's the easiest way to
Hmm.
say it. So when
Yeah.
people claim that they go to church, what they have to realize is you personally are actually supposed to be the church,
Hmm.
and you're supposed to operate under these principles or laws that we are saying. The
Yeah.
customs, the customs of the church, meaning I guess let's use like Catholics. They'll have like, I went to Catholic
Yeah.
school, like they'll have like the bells and things like that.
Bells and the beads and all
Yeah.
that type of extra
If you want to
stuff.
talk about Pentecostal, they'll
Yeah.
have they're more charismatic with their preaching,
Exactly. Yeah.
right? So that's one
Yeah.
of their customs.
Hmm.
One thing that they adopt as a whole is they wear robes, and then they make you
Yeah.
think that that makes you holy. Like
Hmm.
these are customs of the church. These are
Yeah.
not actually God's laws, and I think that people get deterred or turned away
Yeah.
from God because they're confusing the church
Exactly.
and God,
Yeah.
and they're not the same. They're not
Yeah,
the same at
they
all.
just stuck on those traditions and not really seeking for relationship and knowing the character of who God is. So if the only thing you know is what goes on in church and you don't do your own seeking outside of that,
Yep.
you're gonna stay stuck in an area that you won't realize it until you step outside of that box.
That actually goes back to what you and I was saying
Hmm. Yeah.
about about your growth with God after you left your foundation,
Hmm.
right? And it's not this is not a strife against church,
Yeah.
right? And matter of fact, I don't want to say church. This is not a strife against religion.
Yeah.
Religion that is formed through customs. Let me say
Yeah.
that, right? Let's
Hmm.
specify. This is not a knock verse. Religions that are formed from customs,
Yeah.
because they're like customs and traditions. Remember, they apply to a time and place. So what
Hmm.
worked during that time might not work during this time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what we learn is that principles and laws, they are timeless.
Exactly. Exactly.
They don't have an expiration date. They don't have it works in Africa but it can't work in Asia. They're
Exactly.
so consistent that they're a reflection of the manufacturer,
Like the
and
10
that's God.
Commandments.
The 10 Commandments is
Mhm.
a very, it is the root of law,
Mhm.
right? And I think even with the 10 Commandments, it was the law, and then there was the commandments. They called the commandments because Moses basically reiterated
Yeah.
what God told him. So
Exactly.
he's commanding you to do what God said. And
Mhm.
even within that, you have to consider he didn't make the laws for no reason.
Exactly. Everything has a purpose behind it.
100%. And I can't help but to think of how many people just violate the laws
Mhm.
and think
Mhm.
nothing of it.
Yeah.
But what you're not realizing, your life is a reflection of many violations.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think cuz and I think like we talked about I think 2 episodes ago about levels of cheating.
Yeah.
So when in the 10 commandments, the commandment says thou shalt not commit adultery,
Yep.
people look at it as, oh, as long as I don't have sex with nobody.
Mm.
But that's why Jesus had to come and say, yeah, that too.
Hmm.
But if you think it, you already committed that. So
That's
now it
deep.
levels up like, oh, so it's just deeper than just adultery.
I
And
think
you know what I mean,
no, I was about to say too, to piggyback on what you're saying, is deeper than adultery because he's reverting, or he's focusing on how you operate.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
That's what God really cares about,
yeah,
is
yeah,
what are you thinking about? Not
mm-hmm,
so much what you're doing. I mean,
yep,
yes, what you're doing is the fruit of your thoughts,
yep,
right? But what are you thinking about in those moments, right? What do you how do you reason what's right and what's wrong?
hmm,
What is
hmm,
that process? Because if I'm a creator and
yeah,
God is the creator, right?
mm-hmm,
How can I tell him how to operate his product?
hmm, yeah, yeah, yeah.
You,
It's
you,
it's basically what we're doing. If you're listening, we're trying to break down the church like Holy Spirit.
yeah,
All
yeah,
that simply is you allowing God to govern your spirit.
exactly.
So when we say like the spirit, it's like I'm allowing God to use me for me to hear him and make the right decisions in certain aspects of life.
Hmm.
So when we say that little thing that says, you shouldn't be doing that,
Yeah,
we're talking about God.
exactly. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it's as simple as that. We're talking about God.
yeah. So even with that, right? Let's even go a little deeper than that, because people could say, well, what if I don't hear that
Mm-hmm.
and I want
Mm-hmm.
to do that? This is
Yeah.
why God made everything so black and white,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
if you don't know what you're supposed to be doing, he wrote it for you.
Exactly.
He gave
Give
you
your
the thing.
manuscript.
He gave you the manuscript. There is no product that was created without a manuscript to show how to operate or use it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking for a manuscript for mankind, you're
Mm-hmm.
talking about the 10 commandments, you're talking about
Yeah.
the beatitudes. Why?
Yeah.
Because when God created those were with the intent of operational use only.
Yes.
Do not
Yeah.
operate outside of these laws
Yeah.
within your body, within your mind, because at the end of the day, number one, if you're made in God's image, you're representing him.
Yeah.
And do you
Yeah.
think he wants his product out here being misrepresented?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Like
And
I don't
that's
think
the
I was
issue.
about to say
That's the issue.
I don't think Apple wants their
Hmm.
iPhone
Yeah.
malfunctioning every 2 minutes,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then people go,
Yeah.
what are they gonna say? Man, that Apple phone don't even work.
Yeah. And then they start coming at the creator of Apple. They start
Exactly.
coming at the creator like, what? So now me saying I represent God, if I'm out there wilding, that's the God you rep. Oh no, I'm good on that. I'm good on that. And a lot of times people that say they represent God, they're actually representing the traditions they come from,
Their customs,
their
their
customs.
culture.
So now it looks bad when they say, like the stick, like I get it why you say you wouldn't want to, you don't like calling yourself a Christian because there's so
Yeah,
much horrible stigma that comes with that.
thanks.
So now it's like, you a Christian? Oh, yeah, I know this dude. He say he a Christian. He be wilding, bro. Like, what you mean? I'm good. Like, that's why I don't mess with that religious stuff. But if you go back to the manuscript
Hmm.
and look at the details and how we supposed to function and how we supposed
Yeah,
to act, you'll say, oh, yeah, that makes sense. I agree with why you should act that way.
a
I
hundred
agree why
percent.
you shouldn't covet of somebody, be jealous of somebody's
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Why shouldn't you? Because then you start to envy, you start to hate, and
Mm-hmm.
that's a characteristic that nobody wants to really be around.
Even with that, it goes back to the point of this why I like we do our best not to impose
Mm-hmm.
things on people,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because if you can understand that God is very practical
yeah,
and he's
exactly.
not this ooh, that's the only way I
Mm-hmm.
can think. Like,
Exactly,
oh,
exactly.
he's just untouchable.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
yo, we're not negating his presence or his
yeah,
power or his
yeah.
authority or his ability to create. No, but just
Mm-hmm.
understand, why would he make a product,
Mm-hmm.
right, as mankind, and not walk and talk and teach you what to do? The difference
Exactly.
is the main point of it is is that you actually have to seek how he wants you to operate. And
Exactly.
I think that's where a lot of people misconstrue, praying
Mm-hmm.
or or when you say, the spirit that we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
You're confusing that with it's a it's
Mystical thing.
yeah, it's not mystical. It's not spooky. It's not Casper the Friendly Ghost.
Yeah.
It's not the bells
Yeah,
shaking.
exactly.
It's not the
Exactly.
it's not the incense that they burn. It's not none of
Hmm.
that.
Yeah.
It's he's very practical
Hmm.
because think about it like this. Why would All right, I'll give you an example. Here we go.
Hmm.
Would you create a product
Hmm.
and make it so complicated that no one can use it?
That's bad product placement.
Thank you. That's terrible. Think about it. Your marketing would be terrible, right?
Yeah.
How could you even
Yeah.
market that? Hey, I got something so complicated that only I can use it. Like that doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah.
One thing that I've grown to love about my relationship with God is that he made it very simple, but he allows me to choose.
Hmm. Yeah.
And it's just like when you have a partner, let's just say your wife, for
Hmm.
example, right? There's nothing better than that wanted feeling,
Hmm. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you'll always say like, hey, the seeking never stops with my wife,
That's a
right?
fact. That's a
it's
fact.
it's the same philosophy, right?
One hundred
Because you're
percent.
like
One
you're
hundred percent.
because why would you stop if I know he has all the answers and
Yep.
I know he loves me and I'm his
Hmm.
child and
Yeah.
I'm made in his image and all of these amazing things, right? That
Hmm.
people hear but they just don't really understand.
Yeah.
Then when we say you seek him, the root of it has to be, why did he create me and how do I function,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? That would have to be the root of it.
I say this all the time. Like when people try to make God like a genie, like don't do that. Like, or you praying for stuff and like, nah, don't do that. Like, I try to use this analogy. Like, you don't with your insurance, you don't wait till your car break down to get insurance. Like, nah, that's considered fraud. If you get into an accident and then you try to put insurance on it and they say I had insurance at the time of the accident, that's illegal. You get locked up for that. So me building this relationship with God is not only when, oh shoot, something happened. Let me start talking to God. Yo, God, what's going on, God?
What's good if you get me out of
I mean,
this?
if you get me out of this, you know what I'm saying? No, it's a constant relationship. So when that situation does come, it's like, okay, I got it. I understand how
or
people move.
or the situation doesn't even happen
That's true.
because you're
That's
being
true.
obedient,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. That's true.
And
That's true.
let me just tell everyone, and to prove that you love God, if
Mm-hmm.
you want to prove your love for God, you operate under his laws.
Yeah.
That proves to him that you love him. And
Uh-huh.
let me explain why. Because he blessed us and really cared enough about his creation to give us free will,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So when
Yeah.
you align your free will, right, because it was
Mm-hmm.
given to you
Mm-hmm.
with his laws, that's basically saying, I love you more than I love me.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love your words and the way you tell me how to operate way more
Mm-hmm.
than I love what I'm thinking, which is probably some perverted, corrupt thought.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the crazy thing is like me since a little kid, I always got in trouble because I was hard and my favorite word was why. Right?
Oh God.
So for me, for me to believe something, it's why. It's like why. So for me, even if I so-called didn't believe God,
Mhm.
the practices that I put into my life, they work.
Yeah.
No matter what, if I believe them or not. The
Mhm.
fact that it makes sense. If something doesn't make sense to me, I'm gonna automatically be like, that don't make no sense.
Mhm.
But it makes sense to me. The things that I'm putting to practice that he created, it works. I can see it. It's tangible. So when people say, nah, I'm not into all of that religious,
Mhm.
go to the manuscript. Look at the Beatitudes.
Hmm.
Tell me those, like, I'll give you one right now. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the sons of God. You
Hmm.
mean to tell me I've never heard of someone that's considered a peacemaker to be like, nah, that dude, he's a bad person. Don't mess with him.
Yo, he's corny. He always trying to keep the peace around these parts.
When, like, come on now.
Facts.
Come on now. Let me, what else I got here? I got, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall
Mm,
see God.
mm,
If I'm pure, if I'm treating people with purity and a kind heart, that's a reflection of God.
hmm.
And when people draw to that, yo, one of my dudes that I met when I moved out here, I used to work with,
Hmm.
cool dude, man. He looks out for me for no reason,
That's
just
what's up.
because I'm pure to him. There was
Hmm.
one time he bought these new couches he didn't want anymore,
Yeah.
right? Because he was getting a new set. He hit me up. Mind you, I didn't know him about maybe 1 or 2 years. He was like, yo,
Yeah.
bro, I got these couches. I know you just moved out here. Yo, bro, here, take these. I'm like,
Mm.
bro, you serious? He's like, yeah, man. And nice couch. And I'm like, wow. Now just imagine I came out here with that New York attitude, like, man, I ain't messing with nobody here. Like, nah, but I was real honest and pure to him, and he saw that and he felt it. So through
Yeah.
that, he was able to bless me.
Hmm.
I mean, and it's things like that. People always want to use their own mindset towards people, but all you gotta do is follow the manuscript, and you'll fall into who you're supposed to be.
The beauty of that is, and I think a lot of times too is people words mean something. So when you're
Mhm,
reading the manuscript, you have to understand what the author is trying to convey to
mhm,
you.
mhm.
So when he says pure in heart,
Yeah.
remember, it's the heart is the Greek word for the heart is the
Mhm.
mind, right? They're
Yeah.
one and the same. So
Yeah.
it's the source of your thoughts, meaning like say how your heart pumps blood. So
Mhm.
it's the source of your body, it keeps you alive. It's literally
Yeah.
the same thing. They just use that as a metaphor for your mind.
Mhm.
So when he says you're pure in heart, that means that your mind is aligned,
Exactly.
right? Your
Exactly.
mind grabbed what it needs to be, or what is successful, what's healthy for you, right? So if
Mhm.
that's saying, okay, you know what, I'm out of shape, I'm gonna get in shape. Your mind
Mhm.
made that decision, right?
Exactly.
Everything is
Exactly.
decision driven, decision
Mhm.
consequence, right? It's never I'm gonna say this. God doesn't judge people. And I know people are gonna look at me like, what do you mean he doesn't judge people? I'm gonna explain it. All right. Here we go. So look, God created laws.
Mhm.
These are the laws that we abide by. Within the law, there is a consequence, both positive and negative, right?
Mhm.
And then there's also instructions.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
this. The reason why I say he doesn't judge you is because the judgment is already casted in the law. So
Facts.
he leaves it
Facts.
up to you to decide with your free will
Mhm.
what is the outcome going to be. So if you're
Mhm.
saying that, hey, I don't care what you said, God, I'm gonna violate this law. I'm gonna
Mhm.
go cheat on my wife. I'm gonna
Yep.
lie. I'm
Yep.
gonna I'm gonna
Mhm.
violate, my covenant with her, right? God
Exactly.
is disgusted, right? But
Yep.
he doesn't
Yep.
really have to the wrath. You know how they say they always talk about God's wrath. He
Yeah.
doesn't have to come down and give you a ball of fire.
Mhm.
Your fate is set once you violate the law,
Yeah.
or your
Yeah.
fate is set for the good when you obey it, right?
Mhm.
So when I say he doesn't have to judge, I know a lot of people have this, this theory of they're scared of God's wrath. And I'm not
Mhm.
saying you shouldn't fear him. That's not what I'm saying. But
Mhm.
you should fear violating his laws, because through violating his laws, forget the consequence. You're proving to him that you don't really love him the way you claim to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And through that, now you're going to be in a situation where he's like, I couldn't do anything even if I wanted to. Like, I couldn't
Yeah.
save you even if I wanted to,
Yeah.
because I set the foundation of mankind. These are the rules
Mhm.
for mankind. I gave you free will. It's your decision to choose whether you want to live a positive or negative life. And
Mhm.
through those decisions, now you get to identify what type of life you want to live. Because at the end of the day, this
Mhm.
is decision based. Life is decision based. Every portion of life has a positive, a negative, and it has a manuscript or instructions to
Yeah.
obey
Yeah.
the laws that he created. So,
Mhm.
you know,
Let's say you was down and out, right?
mhm,
And let's say you need to borrow $100, right?
Hmm.
And I gave you the $100, and I was like, yo, I need it back by Friday,
Yeah.
right? Friday come, and you say like, yo, I ain't got it, bro. Like it's tough. And I'd be like, yo, bro, don't worry about it. I know I said I need it by Friday. Just get it to me whenever you get it to me, right?
Hmm.
And then you finally get it to me. Let's say I need something now, right?
Hmm.
You're automatically gonna want to look out for me because I looked out for you and I
Facts.
wasn't on you and I didn't press you something crazy.
Hmm.
That's very practical, right?
Hmm.
People don't understand. That's in the Bible. Right here it says, "Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy." We're just giving you practical things that's in here.
Hmm.
It's not you got to make it this. Oh, I can't do these things. You can do these things.
Hmm.
Like, and even if you didn't, even if you wasn't able to look at me for something else, when somebody else looking for me, I'm like, dang, yo, they really looked out. You can go back and say, like, yo, that's crazy. I looked out for him and this happened. Like, and people say, oh, that's karma. Eh,
That's principle.
yeah, I mean,
That's
you can say
principle.
it's karma, but
In the kingdom, right? This is why it's so effective because these principles apply. This is the kingdom that we're talking about. It's a
yes,
philosophy, it's a
yes.
mentality, it's a way that you live your life. It's a governmental authority that
Mm-hmm.
oversees the climate that we currently live in
Yeah.
because it's governed by the manufacturer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So even when you give, right, that philosophy, you give,
Mm-hmm.
you give, you give. I've never been trying to get the words right. All right. I've never been the type of person who helped someone and
Yeah,
never brought it up,
exactly.
right?
Yep. Yep.
And I've been like that my whole life,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And within that, I found that the more I give with a genuine heart, when I don't
Yeah.
ever give with expectations of
Exactly.
anything,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
What I expect, and this is just because of my relationship with God, what I expect
Mhm,
is I give to someone, not saying God is a wishing well, like you throw in a coin and
mhm.
get it. But what I'm
Yeah.
doing is I'm following a principle. So when you give genuinely, we're not
Mhm.
talking about, oh God, I'm gonna give somebody this so that way I can get this. That's not what we're talking. We're
Exactly.
talking about, hey, you see somebody, they need something, listen, man, here you go, boom,
Mhm.
right? And you forget about it
Yeah.
because it was out of the kindness of your heart. You'll start to see your life be more prosperous,
Yes.
and it doesn't, and this is, I'm gonna specify, more prosperous does not mean money,
It does not mean money. Yep. It's very
right?
important.
So we have to clarify because people apply, oh, you get money, you get money. No, that's not what we're
Mhm.
talking about. You
Mhm.
can provide a service to somebody, give them a ride. You can
Yeah.
do anything, right?
Yeah.
And little things like you'll just have genuine peace. That's a
Exactly.
gift. Like
Exactly.
my mind, I'm just calm. I feel really
Yeah.
good today. I've been
Yeah.
having a lot of good days.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. The benefits of following the laws. It's not
Mhm.
always tangible in the sense of finances.
Yeah.
It
Exactly.
applies to your overall lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I hope I said it right
Nah, that's perfect. That's perfect.
because the church oftentimes, and not
No,
just the
not
church,
specifically. Yeah, they'll use that line the Bible say, "Give and it should be given to you, pressed down, running over."
shaking up. Yeah, yeah,
But the lines before that, they were never talking about money. They were
yeah.
talking about time and things like that. So
There's
it's like
so many
it
other
doesn't
things.
have to just be money. Whatever you give,
It
it'll
has to
come
be
back to you.
genuine. A
Exactly,
hundred, a
whatever you
hundred
give.
percent. So, all right. So now that we set the foundation of, obviously, we're talking about, our foundation is the Ten Commandments and the
Hmm.
Beatitudes. So
Yeah.
we use adultery as one for the Ten Commandments,
Hmm.
and what was the other one that you used for the Beatitudes?
I used a couple. I used be merciful.
Be
Yeah,
merciful. All right. So boom.
mercy.
So
Yeah.
we set the foundation of what we're talking about when we speak about the laws that we abide by,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you, when somebody violates these laws, I think that it's
Mm-hmm.
important that we teach them how to, what I call, fall forward,
Mm.
right? Because remember, yes, God forgives. You're
Yes.
supposed to forgive
Yeah.
100%. But in God's courtroom, just like in the regular world, their courtroom, when you violate these laws and you pay the consequence,
Mm-hmm.
it's very clear that you're not supposed to re enter the courtroom.
Hmm.
right?
Mm.
So you're not supposed to be a double offender,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So let me ask you, how would you suggest that people who let's use a man who cheats on his
Uh-huh.
wife, okay?
Yeah.
How do you think he should handle dealing with that violation?
First, he needs to go back to the root of what caused that.
Okay. Okay.
So you need to figure out what in me was able to do something to violate, to be able to violate like this.
Mm-hmm.
You got to go back to the root of it. And if you do go back to the root, nine times out of 10, you'll figure out that it probably didn't even have to do with cheating. It's
Mm-hmm.
something, a foundation that's not solid in your life,
Mm, okay.
and I feel like that's where you need to start. Go back
That
to what caused it.
so you have to get to the root of your decision,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
I'm gonna
Yep.
complement that with
Mm-hmm.
after you violate, there is
Mm-hmm.
no such thing as but, right? There's
Yeah.
no such thing as but
Yeah.
I or but she or but no.
Yeah.
No. Once you violate and you break any laws,
Mm-hmm.
you own up to it immediately. I
Yep.
did this.
Yeah.
There's no
Full
excuse.
accountability.
There's
Full
no excuse.
accountability.
There's no excuse
Yeah.
for what I did.
Yeah.
I violated. There's no excuse.
If you don't do that, you'll never fully be able to recover from it.
100%.
You'll never, until you take full accountability, like, yeah, I did it, but you know what I'm saying? You'll never recover. You'll make that same mistake again.
That's
You
100%
guarantee.
true.
You're guaranteed to make the same mistake again.
And I think even within that, you have to consider for you to violate
Mm-hmm.
a moral law or any of God's laws per se,
Yeah.
right? You have to consider there are going to be consequences for it,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
saying but is not going to help you escape the
Mm-hmm.
consequences behind your actions. And I let's even touch on this, right? Let's say a man, and we're using this as an example to
Yeah.
teach you guys about violation and how to fall forward. So we have to get
Mm-hmm.
to the root of it.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
after a man violates, right? Let's say he does take accountability. I did it, that's it.
Yeah.
Period. Okay, cool. Now, what is the next step to recovery after they take the accountability?
Mm. I like to use this word repentance.
Okay. I like that. Yep.
And repentance for me is basically turning from that way that got you there.
Mhm.
So now we've gone back to the root of it. So now you have to figure out, how do I turn from this? And you'll always go back to the creator.
Mhm.
You'll always go back to the creator because, okay, how do I turn from this? And then if you actually start to seek ways to turn from this, you'll see that, okay, my mind, what am I putting into my mind? Am I
Mhm.
seeking God or I'm seeking worldly things?
Mhm.
Because the worldly thing is gonna push you to feel like, yeah, that's cool. Like it ain't that big of a deal.
Mhm.
I watch a bunch of ratchet TV. This is what I see. It's normal to my culture.
Yeah.
But now when you get out of that culture and you start to see kingdom culture, you realize that's not okay, because just because I messed up in this area doesn't mean I only messed up in this area. This can translate to other areas in my life. And the
Mhm.
minute you start thinking like that, then you be like, yo, I can't leave this like this. This wound is gonna open another wound, and it's just I'm gonna be cut up.
Mhm.
And once you have that mindset, that's when you really start to make that shift. Like, okay, that change needs to happen ASAP.
Even with that, and I'll compliment it again. So within understanding that process for
Hmm.
repentance, the easiest way to repent is to go back to what the law was that you broke.
Exactly.
That's the
Exactly.
easiest way.
Yep.
And you need to study what that law is. So if you
Hmm.
cheated, thou shalt not commit adultery.
Hmm.
And then what you need to do is look at the history of it. Why? What are the
Mm.
repercussions of it?
Oh, there's a
What
lot of history on it.
exactly? What is
Hmm.
the foundational root of why the creator would say, do not violate your
Hmm.
family.
Yeah.
Do not break my covenant,
Hmm.
right? it makes it very practical instead of you going through an emotional experience. Not saying you're not going
Yeah.
to have emotions,
Yeah.
but instead of going through the emotional experience, just get to the root of
Mm-hmm.
what does God say about this?
Yeah.
And this is what I'm going to do. So when I repented and I changed my mind, this is what I changed my mind to think.
Why is that so hard for people? Because we say it's easy for us to say it because we reap from it. We've seen it.
Yeah.
Why is it so hard for people to get to that place to where they can actually see it and be like, whoa, this is different? Like, even remember we was talking to PJ and he was like, yo, the way y'all think, it's like y'all in your own world.
Yeah.
And he was like, I don't mean to make y'all sound like crazy. We was like, no, that's a compliment.
We are in our own world.
We are in our own world. We not up. We in this world, but we not of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that shows that mindset. Like he thought initially, like we might take it the wrong way, but no, we're very keen on that. We want to make sure we're not aligned with this world and this
Mm-hmm.
culture and how they live.
And
And it's
even
not
with
like we're better than anybody because you can join it too.
it's not an exclusive. It's
Yeah,
not an
some people might
exclusive
say, "Oh,
club.
y'all think y'all better because y'all." No. We want y'all in.
Yeah,
We want y'all
that's
in.
the point. Like we would love for people to join this club. It's a great club,
Exactly.
right? But even with that, you have to consider the process. It's a process of elimination,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
you have to literally track your thoughts down to the root of them and start.
Yeah.
No, this doesn't work. This doesn't work. This doesn't work.
Yeah.
And the problem with it is, and we always say this, and you said it because you and your wife celebrated your 5th year of
Yeah.
marriage, which is
5-year
beautiful,
anniversary, man.
right? And you said there's nothing wrong with the systems per se. We're saying systems, but just understand there's nothing wrong with the systems that God created. It's
Yep.
the people that are governing them. Their
Mm.
morals are unstable, their
Yeah.
ways are double-minded. That's the difference. So when you say why is it so hard or why people can't stay married or whatever, it's
Mm-hmm.
because the people who are operating or partaking in these systems, which are education,
Mm-hmm.
government, legislation,
Yep.
marriage, these are all systems, right? These systems are being governed, or people that are participating, they're not aligning themselves with the morals or the principles that are prescribed to operate effectively
Yep.
through the system.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because of that, we even have to start being careful what we're saying, because
Exactly. Exactly.
we're saying the systems as if the systems, there's something wrong with the system. There's
Mm-hmm.
nothing wrong with any of the systems. The systems are fine. It's the people that are operating them that are corrupt,
Yeah.
right? That to me would be like, how could you say let's say the presidency like
Mm-hmm.
that, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with the title of president.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
just something wrong with the person that is
That's
operating
that's
as the
occupying
president.
that seat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's not a knock. I'm just saying there's nothing wrong with education. There
Yeah.
just might be something wrong with the superintendent. There's
Exactly.
nothing wrong with marriage.
Yeah.
There's just something wrong
The
with the
people that's
two
in
people.
it.
Exactly. It has nothing to do with the systems. And
Exactly.
because I think we are in the systems,
Mm-hmm.
but our mentalities are not rooted in their principles.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
that's the biggest. This is why it seems like we're aliens, but we're really
Mm-hmm.
not. It's just
Exactly.
that our moral and governmental principles align with the creators. Other people's principles might align with love and hip hop.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know?
Like I was telling you the other day, like I was at the barbershop and like we say all the time, when you get married, women still look good. So
Yeah.
I'm in the barbershop. Um, girl, there's a hair part in the back. Girl's leaving. Everybody look. I looked, I seen, I was like, oh, all right, looking straight. Everybody talking like, yo, that joint was crazy. And then not even my barber, the barber that was 3 seats down, looked like, yo, bro, you got some different type of discipline. I'm like, yeah, bro. Like, I don't indulge in it. I see it, okay. There's no need for me to indulge. He was like, man, I need to get like you. And I'm like, it's not you have to get like me. I'm like, you can do it too. Like it's a set of principles, it's a discipline that you have to follow. I was like, I don't indulge. And then I was showing him, he was like, yo, but what about Instagram and stuff like that? I was like, bro, I put on my phone, look at my Instagram. I was like, look at my explore page. What do you see? Just sports and random stuff. I was like, you don't see no girls' booties, right? He's like, nah. He was like, yo, look at mine. All you see is booty. I'm like, because that's what you're indulging in. You're clicking it. You're
Yeah.
gonna be tempted. I don't allow these things to tempt me because I don't put myself in position for that. And it
Mhm.
was like, dang, man, I gotta get like that. I was like, you can do it. Like, it make it seem like it's
You're
this
not.
unicorn thing.
Yeah,
Like, you
you're
can
like
do it.
you're different. And it's like, nah,
Yeah.
you're just not applying, and this goes back to ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Maybe
Yeah.
you, and I don't even want to call it, because you know, if you married or you got a girl,
Yeah.
you're not
You
supposed to be
know.
looking,
You
like, chill
know.
out. Like, you
You
get
know.
it. Like,
You
we
know.
get it.
Yeah.
But I think we should just consider this, right? When falling forward, if we had to
Mm-hmm.
choose three main things to do,
Mm.
right? We would have to say, number one,
Mm-hmm.
you would have to take extreme accountability
Yep.
to the
Yep.
highest level.
100%.
There's no more excuses. I
Yeah.
messed up. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Next would be what you said. You have to go to the root of what even caused this action,
Yeah.
and then replace that thought what God says, his
Yes.
principles of what is right.
Yep.
And then, I'll add the last one, and I
Okay.
think this one is very important.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you have to publicly state you're wrong, right?
Mm.
Whether that's to your wife, if you
Mm.
friends, family, right? Whoever was involved
Yeah.
personally, you have to own up to that.
Yeah.
And God rest his soul. I'm gonna use Kobe as an excuse, as an example.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that Kobe Bryant, the reason why people didn't remember that he had that
That
episode with his
situation.
wife,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because Kobe did something an honorable man does. And whether
Mm-hmm.
it was forced or not, he still had the option to say no. But
Mm-hmm.
he went on a press conference, and people probably don't even remember this. He went on
Yeah.
a press conference and
Yeah.
said, I violated, I messed up, and I have to do better.
Mm.
And
I
I'm
remember
gonna
that.
do better.
I remember that.
And in that moment, he's actually the testament of somebody who fell forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
Accountability, reasoning,
Mm-hmm.
changing his ways, and above all, you've never heard it again.
Never
He's
heard it
never
again.
entered into the courtroom of adultery again. Or if
Yeah.
he did, we didn't know about it. So I can't
Exactly.
hold a man accountable for something that I don't know about.
And that's why people was so upset when that reporter tried to bring that back up. It's like,
Yep.
yo, bro,
Yes.
like, what you doing?
How you gonna bring that up?
Yeah, like, what
He
you
dealt with that.
Yeah, like, you bringing that up? But mind you, there's other celebrities that have things that come up, and people are like, oh yeah, I remember that was wild because of their character. He
Exactly.
was able to make a shift.
He changed for the better. And when he changed, he made it very public. And I get it. You know, people say your decisions are private.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to counteract that with, they might be private,
Yeah,
but they have public repercussions.
that's true. That's true.
So please consider what you consider private.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If I violate, it doesn't matter what I violate,
Yeah.
it has public repercussions. So whether
Mhm.
that's I steal, I lie, I cheat, whatever it is, it's gonna have some kind of consequence, and you can't hide the consequence in the closet, because
Exactly.
eventually the truth always comes to light.
Yeah, and that shows a testament of your character. Like, a
Mhm,
lot of times, people will mess up publicly, handle it behind closed doors, and
mhm,
then try to keep moving forward.
mhm.
But people still look at you for what you did because you didn't step up to the plate. I have more respect for you when you're able to take all the bullets.
Exactly.
Like, yo, I want to show y'all that I was humbled. I messed up. I don't want y'all to make the same mistakes. So I'm coming out. It's embarrassing. It may not look cool, but I messed up and I'm going to do better. Who knows from Kobe doing that how much other men he made better?
Mhm.
We have no idea. I can guarantee you he made somebody better by doing that.
100%.
Because you look at, because sad to say, but people idolize these athletes.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So when you have an athlete that you idolize and his character is up to par,
Mhm.
you're gonna want to be up to par because you idolize that person.
True. True.
So even though idolizing is not good,
Mhm.
you're getting some good characteristics
I
from
would
them.
I would say that we all look up to someone regardless,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
Looking up to someone, there's nothing wrong with it. Idolizing means that you put him before God, and
exactly.
that's never okay.
And the
But
Bible says,
looking,
"Thou shalt not have no other gods before me." So it's
shouts
very
out to his
plain.
first commandment, but we're not
It's
gonna get
very
into that.
plain.
But honestly, it's just a matter of identifying yourself with the right person, right?
Hmm.
If a person's living a righteous lifestyle, that's a good
Yeah,
person to not to idolize, but to look to as an example of, okay, I could do it like this, and I put my own
yeah.
spin on it, right? Like
Like Miles Monroe.
that's my guy. That
Hmm.
I have a
Yeah.
genuine love for this man, not so much of the fact that he's a preacher or he's,
Hmm.
but it was the fact that he only promoted God's principles,
Facts. That's a
right?
fact.
And then he allows you to implement them in your life.
Hmm.
But he doesn't he's not a standoffish type of person where he doesn't address the tough topics.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
that's important.
for that, I was, and it's sad, RIP to my guy too, man. But
Yeah, yeah.
but but he was, he's that. And I remember when you pressed me like, yo, don't post him to my your pops.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
like,
yo.
hold on, hold
And
on,
then
hold
and
on.
then I had to explain to you. I'm like, nah, it's
Yeah,
not that. I'm not idolizing him. I'm just saying
yeah,
as a role model, right?
yeah,
Like as a
yeah,
role model in the way he
yeah.
conducted his life. And you was like, oh, all right, all right. I was just making
Just saying,
sure. I
yeah,
was just making
yeah,
sure. Cool,
yeah,
whatever. But it's
yeah.
important that you check those things and make
Mhm.
sure that if you're gonna mess up, fall forward.
100%.
Fall
100%.
forward. Don't make no excuses. Fall forward. Do a
Yep.
push up, stand up, do a
That's
burpee,
a fact.
and keep it
That's a
pushing.
fact. That's a fact, man.
But
That's what I remember in football. They used to tell us like, "Yo, if you mess up 100%, keep going,
yep,
keep going, keep going."
that's a fact. Hey, you got something to leave with the people?
Hey, you're gonna have some ups and downs, man.
Facts.
You're going to fall, but
Facts.
it's how you pick yourself up.
Facts.
And the best way to be able to pick yourself up is keeping God before anything.
Mm. My motto, strive for perfection. Align yourself with God's laws. So
Mm-hmm.
this way you can actually provide a perfected mentality. It'll
Mm.
affect your actions. And then you still might, fall off a little bit. But at the end of the day, you can still be excellent. Well,
Fact.
holla at y'all. See y'all next week.
Yep.
Later.